What's up, my beautiful people? I am back with part 4 of She Gave Her, oh, you can see on my fingers. She Gave Her All to the Hood's Finest. And where we left off in the last one, Tony was checking Camarih's car, her old car, to see if there was anything left in it before it got junked. And he found a check from Stallion made out to Camarih, and he goes back to before he killed Prince, and Prince said, you know, my boss was giving her money. So now, the start of this book, he rushes home to confront her, and she explains that it happened while they were broken up and she was still pregnant, and I think she was at a Best Buy, and he was there, and he offered her, I think, a MacBook and the check. She declined both of them, but he tossed the check in the car anyway, and she just forgot about it. But he tells her he needs to know things like that just in case Stallion tries to throw it in his face later. And now he's looking for Stallion, but he's nowhere to be found, and he's like always surrounded by security guards anyway. And Tony catches a few of those bodyguards, and he's like, you know, where's your boss at? They didn't say anything, so he killed him. Camarih went to go see Tony at the studio one day, and Isis is waiting for her when she comes back outside, and she is like almost hysterical, asking her, you know, why did you let Tony kill Prince? All he needed was time. And it's like she tries to blame Camarih for all the problems in her quote-unquote relationship with Prince. And it's just like, how do you blame your best friend? You met him first. You were sleeping with him first. And then one day he just happened to see your best friend. And now all of a sudden he's obsessed with her. How do you blame that on her? She literally had nothing to do with it. And Camarih tells her, you know, he never really loved you. He lied to you and he used you. And her comeback to that is, then why did he constantly entertain me even when he had you? And Camarih shut her down with, because you're a doormat. You allowed him to use you and do whatever he wanted under the guise of love, and you were okay with that. So then Isis tells her that she better never see Tony, or she, you know, like alone, or she's going to sleep with him. And Camarih said, I'm not even worried. That's one man I know you can't have. Ruby, she wants to work for Tony, but she doesn't have any training to be a PR, so he sends her out for training. And the building that she's training at, she meets an older man by the name of Zaire, and he's just like really intense, like right off the bat. And she's like trying to make something happen with him in the to get over Eden. And she's like low-key becoming obsessed with Eden and Frida and their whole relationship that they have going on. Oh, excuse me. And Raheem goes to the studio, you know, to work. And it's one of those days where Camarih has brought the baby and Shanice is there. And Raheem pulls Tony to the side and says, hey, I need her to leave because she's trying to help my soon-to-be ex-wife with the divorce. And Tony tells him, you know, do it yourself. I'm not your lackey. And so they go back in the studio, and Tony has them cut off the music, and he's like, he has something to say. So Raheem asks her to leave, but Camarih's like, this is my man's studio. She's my friend. She's not leaving. And Raheem's like, yeah, it's his studio, which means, and Tony like immediately cuts him off like, hey, don't argue with my girl. If you got something to say to her, direct it towards me and I'll handle it. But Shanice, she leaves anyway. She's like, no, don't worry about it. You know, he actually has to work here and I'll leave. So we find out why Tony doesn't like Vernon. Vernon has a brother that's in jail, and he accuses Vernon of snitching on said brother so he doesn't go to jail. And in the midst of them having this back and forth, because Tony tells him, you know, to leave his sister alone, and Vernon says, well, that's kind of hard considering she's my wife. And Tony beats him up again. Jilly's at home, you know, just chilling, and then she hears keys in her door. Now, besides herself, the only other person that has keys to her place is Tony. So she knows who it is, But when he comes in, the first thing he says is, "Where your husband at?" And she tries to deny it, but he's like, "So if I look it up right now, in the records, it won't say that you're married to him." So she says no, but then he like pulls off. He's like, "All right," and then she's like, "Okay, okay, okay." So she comes clean, and he calls her ungrateful. And her comeback to that is that she's grown, and he says, "Well, you're not too grown for me to pay your bills." Um, and she tries to throw him under the bus by yelling out that he was sleeping with Brielle, because Camarih is there with Tony and she has the baby. But Camarih already knows, they've gotten over that. And he looked at her like, "You think you're doing something, but you really not." And it doesn't negate the fact that you rush to get married to somebody that you don't even know. And so she tells him like how much she hates him, and she's very disrespectful. And he yokes her up, and he's like, "Brother or not, you gonna show me my respect, or you gonna get beat like any other girl out here on the street." And so she goes back in the house. She gets a call from the hospital. Vernon's in the hospital. That's how bad Tony beat him up. He has broken ribs, broken nose, and one of his cheekbones are broken. Tony is ruthless. And she's starting to realize that she made a mistake in marrying him. I'm like, you should have known that from the beginning, even while he was your boyfriend. And I'm just thinking, because you can't let your family run your life, but if your brother is so against it, it has to be a reason to. Because that's the one thing that everybody says about Tony. Like, yeah, he's crazy. Tony, Wacko, that's his name. But it's like he has a reason for everything that he does. So if he has such a thing against your boyfriend, wouldn't you, like, take heed to that and figure out what this dude is about? So although Eden has made Frida his girlfriend, he's, like, suspicious of her every move. She goes to pick up her check one day. He wants to go inside and like go with her. And then Ruby calls him and tells him about a guy that she saw Frida talking to at the gas station. Like, they weren't hugged up. It was nothing intimate. She literally just saw Frida talking to this man and them laughing together. And she called and told Eden. And so he questioned her about that. And she's like, "Is this how this relationship is going to go? Because if it is, then, just let me know and we could be done." And he's like, "No, it ain't even like that. I just talked to Ruby," and she was like, "Yeah, you need to cut her off." And he's like, "No, we just, it's nothing that deep." Oh, excuse me. And she's like, "Yes, it is. Because although she claims to not want you, it looks like she doesn't want anybody else to have you either." Also, Holly's brother keeps contacting him, or basically harassing him at this point, to help him get in with Tony because he wants to be a rapper. Shanice she went on a date with Wade. It was on a boat, and she told him about her husband Paul and the situation with Raheem. Wade was also married, but he recently got a divorce. Naima thinks that he and Jilly are now in a relationship. Ruby, as a part of her job, of course, she has to work with Eden in some capacity. So she goes over to his house, and Frida's there. She opens the door. She's being very, polite as she can be. And Ruby is just like throwing little shots and being very petty. And it's just like, girl, you have no reason to feel the way that you do. You could have been with him, but you wanted to be upset about a baby that was made before you even got there, and just throw the whole thing away. So now that he is moving on and found somebody else, you're upset about that. Like, you just want him to be miserable. So, as I guess she thinks as get back, she goes on the date with Zaire, but Zaire is already talking about marriage and babies, and this is their very first date, which I find very strange. When Jilly goes to the hospital, she tells him that she wants a divorce, and then like after she tells him that she wants a divorce, then she tries to ask him about his family. He's like, you want a divorce? Why do you want to know? And then he claims to have a brother that died in a car accident. Eden, he gets Raheem to produce the track for Al, and he can't stay on beat. He doesn't know how to rap. He can't catch the beat, and it takes them a very long time. They got something recorded, but it's not good. Shanice, while in traffic, she sees her in-laws, and they don't stay in California, so it was a surprise to see them there, and they didn't contact her. So she follows them to a hotel, and it's like gets out and jumps on the elevator, and she asks them, you know, like, how long have you guys been here, and why haven't you called me? They've been there a week, and they didn't want to tell her, but the dad says, you know, we should just get it out in the open, and they're here for Kira. They're helping her with the baby, giving her money, because they believe that that is their grandchild, you know, of course, of their only dead child. We're on Camarih. It's like a night out with the crew. They're having a good time, and in the midst of, you know, everybody chilling with each other, Joy walks up to speak like everything is a-okay. And it's just like, why? And then Nala tries to check her, you know, like, why are you speaking? Nobody wants you around. And those two get to fighting, and Camarih's peeping game. It's like, why are you two fighting over my man? And she like tries to check Tony about it, but Tony's like, I ain't worried about them birds. I ain't got nothing to do with either one of them. Let them act the fool. We here because they were like celebrating all his accomplishments. And if you hear any noise in the background, I apologize, but this is like my 4th time attempting to record this video, and I'm not starting over. And after Joy is thrown out, Camarih tells Nala, because Nala comes over, she's like, I apologize, but I know what Joy was trying to do. And Camarih tells her, yeah, it's the same thing you're trying to do, slide up under my man like I'm stupid. So I'm going to get at you later. It won't be now, but you'll be seeing me. And on the way home, she gets chilly. So she looks in the back for that jacket that he normally keeps back there. But it's not there. And he claims to have left it at the studio. But we all know where that jacket is. Naima, Scar has a cancer scare. Her family has a history of breast cancer, so she was very nervous. He went with her to her doctor's appointment, but everything came back negative, so she's okay. And he tells her about his relationship with Jilly, and she immediately tries to use their son as a ploy. Like, you know, he can't be over there while she's there, and anytime, you know, like, y'all two are together, my son will not be around at all. Ruby is out at the store, and she sees Armand. He's now homeless and on drugs, and he says it's because her father, who owns a furniture store, put the word out on him, you know, and he couldn't get any work after that. So, and, you know, she kicked him out the house, so what else can he do but be on the streets and turn to drugs? She tries to take the pipe away from him, and he elbows her in the face, and they like get the fighting out on the street. And after that, she goes to Eden, you know, just to talk, but in that talking, they end up sleeping together. And, you know, she sleeps over, and when she wakes up the next morning, she's thinking like, okay, now he's gonna break up with Frida, and they're finally gonna be together. But Eden tells her, no, ma'am, you know, like, this wasn't even supposed to happen. I have a girl, and I'm not going to dump her just because now you feel like you're ready. And so later on, she has a night out with the girls, but they decide to go to Pink Cherry, where, of course, Frida works, and as well as Isis. So Isis catches Ruby alone and tells her she has some information for her, and she'll tell her if she talks to Camarih for her to get her back in her good graces. And the information is that Frida wanted Tony first, but she was too scared, so she went with Eden instead because she knows that he likes to trick off with his money. Raheem is once again meeting with a divorce attorney. Amara wants full custody. She says the life that he's leading, he doesn't have time to fully take care of their daughter. So of course he can have visitation like a weekend or two, and a week in the summer. But you know, just she wants full custody, and also she's not asking for child support because if she gets the royalties and alimony, and she has a good paying job because she's a lawyer, so it's just like you know, he has no room to fight her. So anything she asks for, basically he needs to give it to her. We get a chapter from Joy, and Joy is still thinking about Tony, still talking about Tony. And but she's also talking to or attempting to date Carter, which is Tony's cousin. But he like I was gonna say Tony. Carter actually likes her, and he catches her looking at her sonogram, and he's like, you know, why do you still have these? And she's like, well, they were my kids. Like, what do you mean? But it's like, if you felt this closely about it, why didn't you have these kids? It's basically like you're holding on at this point because it's something that ties you to him, not the fact that you actually want the kids. And so he's like, come on, let me take you out. And it was a little part, I wasn't gonna mention it, but it got on my nerves because he gave her like his credit card. I was like, you know, buy yourself something nice, cool, whatever. And so when she gives the card back, she's like, she says to him, like, I hope it's okay, the amount that I spent. And then, like, you know, like, in her mind, she's like, it's only 10,000. He better calm down. But it's like, but you don't have that money on your own. So how you gonna spend somebody else's money and say it's only 10,000? But that's $10,000 you ain't got though. And so at the club, she sees a girl that she knows Tony slept with while he was sleeping with her at the same time. So she follows the girl into the bathroom. Like, you know, are you still messing around with Tony? And she's like, girl, no, that's old news. He got a woman and a baby and he's in love. She tries to deny it. The girl pulls up an interview on her phone that Tony recently just did. And one of the questions was, what's your favorite thing to do? And he literally says, Camarih. Like, I love my girl and my son, you know. And Joy is so delusional. She's like, that's all for show. Behind closed doors, he's really my man. And it's like, why? Even if that was true, why would you proudly say that like that? And so she goes back to the section that she's sharing with Carter and gets drunk. And she sees the girl like keep walking back in front of her. So she says, don't walk in front of my section again. And the girl tells her, you know, whatever. Cause Joy said something about beating her up, and she was like, oh yeah, that last time you allegedly beat me up, I was sleeping with Tony that same night. And she remembers back because she was trying to call him all night and he wouldn't pick up the phone. But that's your man though. When Tony got locked up, there was a crackhead in there who told him that Miranda plotted on him as a kid. So she married the dad just to get to him. So he goes to Brio's job to question if she knew that her mom wanted him when he was younger and plotted on his dad just to get close to him. She denies it. And when they go to the guy, he was like, you know, do you recognize her? And he's like, no, she looks just like Miranda, but I've never seen or met her before. So he takes her back to her job. But before she gets out, she asks him, is he really just a one-woman man now? Because she knows no one woman can satisfy him. But it's like, before you knew he got with Camarih, you and Joy both swear that when he does finally settle down, it will be with one of y'all. But now that he has settled down and is being a one-woman man, you know can't one woman satisfy him, even though y'all was trying so hard. Make it make sense. So then Tony sees Stallion out at an event, and you know, he tries to run up on him and kind of causes a scene. And it was at an industry party, so he feels away because he's like, you know, nobody's gonna want to work with me with my actions. And he tells this to Camarih, and she tells him, he was like, no, you have an amazing work ethic, and although, you know, you can get a little crazy sometimes, the only thing the big wigs care about is money. So as long as you're bringing in money, they kind of don't care about your actions. So Jilly is at Naima's house, and there's banging at the door at like 11 o'clock at night. So when he goes to answer the door, it's Star. She like barges her way in, and um, she still is trying to attempt to be with him now that she knows that he's moved on. And when he like wouldn't fully let her in the door, she's like, "What, is she here? Is she here?" And so when they make it in the bedroom and she sees that she is there, she tries to make her leave. And um Naima at first says no, but then once again she uses Timothy as a ploy, like, well, then you're not gonna get him this weekend if you don't make her leave right now. So then Jilly gets up and she's like, you know what, I'll leave on my own. Nobody's putting me out. I'll leave because I want you to have time with your son. And so she's going in the bathroom to put her clothes on because all that time she was, laying in his bed naked. And he follows her in. He's like, no, I'll make her leave and I'm still going to see my son. She's not going to make me be with her if I don't want to. And I'm in this with you. So when they go back out there, she's trying to be real cute, like looking at her nails like, oh, bye. And he's like, no, actually, you're the one that's leaving. And, so that's it with them. But on the day that Vernon is supposed to get out of the hospital, he tells her that he no longer needs a ride from her. But she shows up to the hospital anyway to see who is picking him up. And she sees an older lady picking him up, and she follows them. And they get to a house, and like 5 minutes later, Vernon is right back out the door, jumping in the car and leaving. So she goes up to the door and knocks. She finds out that the woman is Vernon's mom, and she finds out some other stuff about Vernon. Vernon, the mom didn't even know that they were married. She just still thought that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And then Jilly finds out that Vernon has a sister who is studying abroad, and that brother that died in a car accident is actually in jail. Eden and Raheem are in the studio with Al. Like, he's very offbeat, making the record. He's very offbeat, can't catch the beat. It's just a terrible experience. So he meets with Ruby. I think I got ahead of myself because I don't know if I said that they made the record or if he just got Raheem to produce the track. Oh, you know what? I think I skipped that. Yeah, because Holly had the baby, and the baby name is Hallie. And Eden wanted to take a paternity test, and the baby proved to be his. I skipped that whole part. So Eden has to meet with Ruby again, and she tells him what Isis told her about Frida picking him second. So when he goes home, Frida's cooking something, and he confronts her about it, and she admits it. She's like, yeah, but I didn't know you at that point. Like, we've built up to the relationship that we're in now, and I haven't done anything. And so because she admitted that it was true, he tells her, well, I just slept with Ruby like a day or two ago or something like that. And so Frida leaves him. She leaves him and she tries to give everything back. She's like, the one thing I didn't like though during that whole exchange, she was like, I might not be much and I'm only, and it's like, don't sell yourself short. Don't make him think that he's so much better than you. You are still somebody. Being a stripper does not, make you less of a person. So that part I did not like. But he tells her that she can keep the truck because it's paid for. So she does. She takes, the only thing she takes is the truck, and she leaves. Shanice hires a private investigator to follow Kiera, trying to figure out if this is really her husband's baby. So Wade is still giving her gifts, and they're still spending time together, but they haven't been intimate. So he sends her more gifts. It's like a diamond watch, some Louis Vuitton boots, and stuff like that. And so she finally decides on her Betty Wright, tonight is the night. He hired a personal chef for the night, just real cute, whatever. And the next morning, as she's leaving, she meets Sherry. Sherry is Wade's ex-wife, but she was like real petty with it. Because at first, Shanice is like, who are you? Are you his sister? Some type of family, And she's like, no, he's my husband. She's like, what? She was like, oh, I'm sorry, I mean ex-husband. It's like, girl, you knew what she was doing. So she texts Wade like, I met your wife, don't contact me again, because she's still staying with him. Sherry is still staying at the house. Camarih is working out with Star, and Star is just being real petty. She's like, are you sure you're gonna get married? Are you sure he's not gonna leave you at the altar? And Camarih's like, what is going on? Why is you coming for me like this? And she's like, oh, I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to figure out why your baby daddy wants to marry you and mine doesn't. And Camarih's like, what? And she claims to still be sleeping with Naima and called Jilly a mistress who seduced him. And Camarih's dad randomly pops up and just tries to act like everything is a-okay, but she kicks him out. And as they're both leaving, she sees the detective that's working on Bobby's case sitting outside of her spa. So that makes her want to go talk to her mom. So when she gets there, she sees her mom having sex with the boy next door, which is weird because, to her mom is a lesbian now, so she didn't see her sleeping with a guy. And then also the boy Nathan, she has always treated him like a son whenever Camarih was around. So it's just like, that's weird to see y'all having sex together. So she rushes home to tell Tony, and Tony tells her, obviously they are plotting. It's like they shot him, but when her mom called her and was like, Bobby had been shot, the guys that Tony had killed her slit her throat. So it's just like they shot her not knowing that she was already dead and planned to, frame him to get money and a house, to blackmail them to get money in a house. So Naima meets up with Camarih because she hits him over IG wanting to meet up. So he had a conversation with Star like a few days ago to finally just be cool and just parent, because she actually called him over saying that Timothy was sick, but when he got there, like, Timothy wasn't even there, and she had on lingerie, and he like told her one last time, like, I don't want a relationship with you anymore, I just want to co-parent with you. And she tried to be okay with that, but she actually sent a picture of him like sitting on the couch with her to Camarih to make it seem like, he was still sleeping with her. So after he talks to Camarih, he goes to Star and tells her, we can't be cool anymore. Like, I just tried with you and you still out here playing games. So all that nice and just trying to be friends, we can't even do that. Like, literally, I'll see you when I'm picking up my son, and that'll be it. Ruby is officially hired by Tony. I was about to say fired. Zaire is trying to have her meet his parents already, and it's just creepy. She stops by Eden's place for business, and he has baby Hallie, and he doesn't really know what to do with the baby. He gave her a bottle, but like newborn babies, that wasn't enough. So she was like hollering her head off. Eden tells Ruby that he's single now, and she's thinking like, oh yeah, great, we can finally be together. But he says he wants to stay that way. He just needs to be by himself for a while. Raheem goes over to Dallas' house. They're drinking and talking, and that leads to sex. But while he's cleaning up in her bathroom, he calls Amara, still trying to get back with her. And Dallas overhears this. So it's like as soon as he steps out, she's like, did you really just call your ex-wife in my bathroom? And he tries to deny it, but she's like, I heard you. You can leave. Camarih gets Nathan to admit that he shot Bobby, and she has it recorded on her phone. So where are we? We're on Tony. It's the first night of Eden's tour, and Nala is his opening act. Everything's good. The concert went good. Tony is walking Camarih back to the bus, and Nala is like coming down the steps off the bus, and he tells her, good job. And she goes to walk down, and Camarih steps right in front of her. And she's like, why do you have on this jacket? And Nala tries to play it off. She's like, it's a making a killing jacket, hoodie. It's mine. And Camarih's like, I can still smell Tony's cologne on it, and she like punches her a few times. So Tony pulls her off, and they get into an argument because he takes her on the bus. And she's like, I knew you were still sleeping with her. And he's like, I'm not sleeping with her. You know, it just causes an argument back and forth, but they eventually make up, and it's all done and over with. Jilly is finalizing her divorce with Vernon, and he tries to get alimony from her being a stylist because she, you know, styled a few of Nala's looks. But Tony told her he wasn't officially putting her on payroll until she got a divorce because he knew something like this would happen. So since he couldn't get alimony, he gets a restraining order against Tony. She goes out to dinner with Naima to celebrate her divorce. And as they're leaving, Star is in the parking lot leaning up against the car. And it's like, this is what I say what I love about books. Because it's like, how did she even know they were going to be there? And why are you just rolling up on people like that? And so she tries to get smart with Jilly. And Jilly just tells her, you know, you really need to stop using your son as a pawn in your games and just let this man be with his son. And Star pulls her hair and ends up getting her butt whooped. And Jilly was like, you know, you can be fit as you want to be, but if you don't know how to throw hands, you know, you just fit. Okay, so where are we? We're on Eden. They're ending a session at the studio, just standing outside, and Al rolls up. So Eden tries to introduce Al to Tony. Tony pays him no attention. He's off talking to Raheem, and Eden tells him, you know, to play the song, and he starts playing it, and it's just like, you know how you're talking and you're just like, and Tony's listening, and he just proceeds to go off, telling him he has jacked up teeth like Holly, his clothes are too tight, too little, all that type of stuff. And Al tells him that he isn't the only crazy one. So Tony's like, you know, good, like, I'm not scared. What that's supposed to mean? So Al goes and gets in his car, and when he's driving by, he shoots, and Tony gets hit in the stomach. And Tony pulls out his gun and shoots back and blows his head open, which causes him to crash his car into a pole. And Tony drives himself to the hospital. And when Camarih and Jilly get there asking what happened, Eden and Raheem proceed to point the finger at each other, blaming who's ever involved. And Camarih just asks both of them to leave because it's like, why would you get him involved in something like that? And I was like, this is where everybody tries to use Tony as their bodyguard because they know that he's crazy and they know he's going to act up. So it's just like, get Tony to do it and take care of it. He goes to see Ruby because, you know, he's feeling very bad that he did get his best friend caught up in some stuff like that. So they reconcile, and now they are officially back together. The private investigator that Shanice hired figured out that Kira had a boyfriend, and whoever that boyfriend was is probably the real baby's father and not Paul's. So Shanice gets her address from the private investigator and goes to confront her. And while Kira really did sleep with Paul, that's not Paul's baby, even though she wants it to be. And she tells Shanice that she never really deserved him and that she really wanted it to be his baby because Paul really wanted kids. And Shanice was like, no, he didn't. We agreed. And Kira was like, he agreed because he knew how important your career was to you. But that's not how it actually was. He really wanted kids. And I was like, it's a shame that she knows your husband better than you do. And then you also don't owe her an explanation because in the book, she proceeds to explain to Kira, you know, how much she loved him. It's like, you don't owe her anything. Like, yes, she has feelings for your man and she did actually sleep with him, but at the end of the day, that was your husband. So what went on in your relationship is nobody's business. So she got a new house because she got what did she say? 150% raise. And Wade shows up and she tries to kick him out, but he's like, no, you're gonna listen to me. You know, that is my ex-wife. We have not been together for a while, and she does not actually stay in the house. She stays in the guest house out back. So you know, they make up. They're all good. So Tony's still in the hospital, and Camarih's there with him. She posts a picture of baby cuz, and when she does, I love that name. Joy DMs her and says my son would have looked just like that. So at this point, Camarih's fed up. So she DMs her, you know, like, do you want to talk? And Joy is like, about what? And I'm just like, what you mean about what? You DM'd her trying to be cute, talking about your son would have looked like that. But she tells her, you know, to talk about Tony because he's stressing her out. And so immediately Joy starts calling Tony, but he not answering. So then Joy DMs her back like, sure. They meet up in a parking lot, and Camarih beats her butt. You know, tells her, you know, like, leave my man alone. She agrees to have lunch with her dad after she helps Jilly pack up the rest of Vernon's stuff. And her dad keeps looking at him like, you know, I've seen him before. I'm pretty sure I know him from somewhere. And so Camarih's like, you know, why are you so stuck on this? And he said he and his brother committed a crime for money. He went free because he snitched on his brother. So it's like a known fact that Vernon snitched on his brother. But I guess because it was another part of town, they don't know this over here. So when he keeps talking about it, Camarih's like, what is it? And she's like, her dad says, I'm pretty sure that he was hired to kill Dries. And so where am I? Okay, so Tony, once again, he has Brielle, and they're going to her mom's house. They're both questioning her, like, did she really marry the dad just to get close to him? And she admits it, and that starts Brielle and Miranda fighting, like, over Tony. And Brielle cracks a heavy vase over her mom's head, killing her. And it's just like, that's crazy. Like, Tony, of course, helps her out because at first she was screaming and he told her, like, shut up. And she was like, no, I can't believe you made me kill my mother. And he was like, if you don't be quiet, you gonna be next. Excuse me. Naima, he has filed for joint custody, and Star's upset. She's like, why are you doing this? You know, that's just gonna result in me getting child support. He was like, that's fine. As long as you don't get to play this game of holding my son over my head, that's fine. And he also requested a mediator to be there to exchange him. He also introduces Timothy to Jilly, and they hit it off just fine. I mean, he's a 3-year-old boy. She's a pretty girl. You know, boys love pretty women, and she made him cookies, so Timothy sold. Camarih tells Tony what her father told him, and Tony just been waiting for a reason. He was like, I knew it. And so, and Camarih wants to be there. So Tony sets it up for Vernon to get a job. And when he shows up, he's surprised to see Camarih. But when Tony comes in and locks the door, then he gets up, like, very nervous, like, you know, what's going on? And so he's like, where's your brother? And why would you snitch on him and make him do the time? And Vernon starts crying. And he's like, man, I couldn't be in jail. I don't deserve to be in there. And so Camarih, didn't she shoot him? No. I think she punched him. And then Tony shoots him. And Tony finally catches up with Stallion, kills him. Camarih and Tony are married now. Shanice and Wade are engaged. She got another raise because this is the wrap up at the end. Eden and Ruby are expecting a baby. Jilly and Naima are doing great. Star even has a new boyfriend. And Raheem and Dallas are dating, but everybody knows he still wants Amara. And that is the end of She Gave Her All to the Hood's Finest 4. And I will be right back with the finale, number 5. Deuces.